If you're a business that creates content to get people to know, like, and trust you, there's a big change happening in social media that's really important for you to understand. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what that change is and how your content strategy can adapt to take advantage of it and to grow. So there was a period of time where it was all about short form content. TikTok was exploding, so everyone else was trying to keep up with them. So YouTube launched Shorts and Instagram launched Reels. And there was a period where if you made that kind of content, they would shower you with views. People were just blowing up left and right. And I think it's because they were trying to reward you for creating content to compete against TikTok. And that style of content still works. Obviously, our feeds are so full of video, but some of that crazy growth is starting to slow down. And it's not even just the algorithm and the number of views that people are getting, but it's the fact that we're all becoming used to that kind of content. Maybe a year ago, if you saw a video that had really fast edits and it had the captions that changed angles and stuff, it was kind of like visual candy that would tantalize you and it would suck you in. You would watch that. It kind of gave you this dopamine boost. But now that we've seen so much of that content, it doesn't stand out anymore. People aren't going to watch your content just because it has cool captions. They need to have substance. We need to give them a reason to tune in and listen to us. But it's not just the fact that the content itself is changing or that the styles and the design is changing. It's also what's happening with that. So maybe last year you could see one piece of content where somebody would say, hey, are you a coach or a consultant and you want to get to 10K a month? Here's my proprietary system. And a lot of those claims, a lot of those hooks were big enough that it would make people tune in. Well, now over the last year, we have all seen so many ads like that it doesn't work the same way. If you say, hey, here's how to get to 100K a month, I don't care. I've seen 10 offers this morning that have made that same offer to me. So it's no longer the case that you're going to see one ad, you're going to click through, and now you're going to buy from somebody. I think the buying cycle is really starting to lengthen for a lot of people. And what's happening now is what people are calling content ecosystems. So it's not just one ad, but I'll see a short form video and then I'll watch a few more and then I'll see one of your carousels and then your carousel will take me to YouTube and then YouTube will take me somewhere else. So it's not just one piece of content, but it's this whole network of pieces. And I like to think about this as one step further, which is a content web. It's not just the fact that there's a lot of content that we can stumble across, but it's that the content is designed in a way that makes it impossible to not stumble across it and to not get sucked further into it. So what I like to do is create content where one tells you to go to another. And that tells you to go to another one. So we're not leaving it up to chance that if you watch one, hopefully you'll click through to my profile and watch some more, but we deliberately tell you to do that. We have all of our calls to action that say, hey, go watch this next, then go here, then DM me to learn something more. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to create that content web and how to design all those pieces of content so that they all fit together and they mutually reinforce each other. Before I jump into it, I want to lay kind of a foundation. There's this guy named Dan Bolton. And he talks about how when it comes to heating up prospects with content, people used to think about that in terms of a duration of days or weeks or months. If I get in front of somebody today, if I drip content out in front of them, if I get them in my email sequence, they might be ready to buy from me a week from now. But what he says is it's not a timeline, it's just aggregate face time. So just for easy math, let's say it takes somebody an hour of consuming our content to see us as an expert and to maybe not buy from us, but at least take that next step to download a lead magnet or, reach out for a conversation or book a sales call. So if I post a 1-minute reel every single day, it'll take me 60 days to get up to that 1 hour threshold. But if I have an ad that makes you watch a reel, that makes you watch a 20-minute YouTube video, and that leads to 5 more, we can get to that 1 hour mark today. So that's what it's all about. How do we make this web that sucks people in and gets them over that threshold number so that they see us as an expert and they decide to do business? And the faster we can get that total watch time, that total amount of time, just literally spending time with us virtually, seeing our face, hearing our voice, learning from us, we get them over that number and then they're ready to buy. So there's so many gurus today that are talking about how to go viral. I don't care about virality. I care about nurturing prospects. I don't care if 1 million people see our content. If we had 10 people, but we get them over that number, they see us as an expert and we have 10 sales calls, that is so much more valuable than having people that watch our content that are never going to take the next step with us. So with all that being said, let's jump into it and let's learn how to make a content web. So the very first step is to get the ideas flowing. So a lot of people will say, all right, let's sit down and let's, fill out this framework of, how we're going to design this kind of content. And that's fine. I have a lot of frameworks that I use too. Like, for example, there's this guy, Craig Ballantyne. He's super smart when it comes to social media. He has this 5x5 matrix that he uses. So the 5 columns are the 5 core messages that you want somebody to know about you that sets your service apart from anybody else. And then the rows are a case study, a personal anecdote, a client success story, a celebrity example, a statistic or a piece of data, and something else. And then what you do is you fill all those out. So you share your number one core message with a personal anecdote. Then you share it again with a celebrity story. And then you share it again with a client success story. And then you fill out that whole matrix. So that's just one example. There's a bunch of frameworks that I use that are like that, and they can be very helpful. But in my opinion, I would rather just start by getting into flow. So I have a spreadsheet that has a bunch of questions that we ask our clients, and then how the client will phrase their answer to make for a really strong hook. And then we just ask them questions and just get them talking. The reason why is because when we start with a framework, a lot of times we can kind of get stuck in, analysis paralysis, where we're trying to make these scripts and these hooks and these ideas all perfect, and we never actually just get filming. Another reason why is because a lot of times we don't know what our best content is going to be until we just get into flow. So we think we have an idea, but when you do our filming session, it's kind of like our job as the producer, as the interviewer. We find a thread and we start pulling on it. And sometimes that just leads us to this gold, and we go, wow, we never even thought to ask that question, but now that we stumbled across it, we're just like hitting on all cylinders. This is such amazing content that the viewer is not going to get from anywhere else. So rather than trying to script that ahead of time, I would rather just jump in, start asking those questions, digging, and finding that gold. And then also, a lot of times, it's actually our audience that will tell us those things. So if we can publish that first batch as quickly as we can, people can start watching that content. Maybe they'll leave a comment and they'll ask a question. And then we'll think, wow, we never even thought about that. That's a great idea for more content. Also, we track the analytics. So in Instagram, under any piece of content, there's a button that says View Insights. If you click on that, it'll show you how many followers consumed a piece of content versus how many non-followers. So every month in our filming sessions, we compile all that data for our clients, and then we'll just sort it by most views, and we'll go, okay, here's the 5 videos that attracted the most non-followers. Why did that work? And let's double down on that. Let's dig a little bit deeper and share that message in new ways. So if we get stuck in designing that content ahead of time and writing out all the scripts, we don't know what that's going to be. I'd rather publish right away, track that analytics, and let the audience tell us. We go, oh, we never even thought that was going to be the best piece of content. Now that we know that, let's keep iterating off of that. So that's step 1. Just start flowing on short form content. Now, step 2 is that as we're doing this, we'll start to identify some themes. And we might go, we're starting to realize we have a lot to share about this one specific topic. So now let's turn that into a series. Rather than doing one video, like I said, we found that thread. We're going to keep pulling on that thread. Let's turn that thread into 3 videos or 5 videos or 10 videos. And then when we publish that content, on the thumbnail itself, we'll write, part 1, part 2, part 3, or maybe part 1 of 5, 2 of 5. Open that loop with the viewer, where once they watch one, they're like, man, I need to close that loop. I want to watch the rest of it to close that loop in my mind. And then at the end of all the videos, we'll put an animation on the screen that says, make sure you go back and watch part 1, or stay tuned for part 3. Another thing that we'll do is we'll write all of the headlines in a list, and we'll put it in the description. So we'll say, hey, if you like this, make sure you don't miss the upcoming ones in this video. Then that way we're teasing what's coming up, and they go, oh man, number 3 is juicy. I have to watch that. I want to learn how to do that for myself. So the point behind all of that is to use the short form flow content in point 1 to, in point 2, establish these kind of longer ideas with multiple points. Make that content so that it's sticky. Once we get people to watch one, they want to keep watching. But then most importantly, that sets us up for part 3, which is filming long form content. Now that we have multiple parts, let's film a YouTube video where we say we're going to teach you 3 things or 5 things or 10 things, but it's all in one solid video. The important thing here is I've had a lot of clients that say, well, we already have that content. Let's just repurpose it. Maybe we can make a video where we have like a transition animation between each one of those parts, and we'll just put 5 reels together as a YouTube video. But in my experience, that doesn't really work. Sometimes it can be passable, but on YouTube, people kind of expect a certain style, and it's obvious that we're repurposing those videos. Something I think about a lot is that if we want a client to spend their time consuming our content, we have to show them that it was valuable enough that we spent time creating it in the first place. And for me, I feel like the amount of time that it takes to refilm content we've already made, but in a new format for YouTube, refilming those 5 short forms into a YouTube, it's not that much extra time, but it does so much more to show the prospect that it's valuable and it's worth being watched. So that's the third point, is to film YouTube content. And I want to point out too, I know that is so much easier said than done when you just tell somebody, oh, hey, go film YouTube content. Like, most people have a problem filming short form as it is. And then YouTube is like 10 times harder, because it's hard enough as it is to get through a 1-minute video without stumbling over all of your words. Now, if you want to speak for 10 minutes straight, oh man, it can turn into a 2-hour process, and your energy starts to lag. So I get it that it's a huge ask. In another video, I can talk about how we do that for our clients. In a nutshell, I try to just turn it into a conversation where we have an outline written for them for how the YouTube video is going to flow. And then each step of that outline is just a question. So we'll ask the client a question and we just tell them, rephrase the question in your answer. So we'll say, what are we going to learn in this video today? And the client goes, in today's video, you're going to learn XYZ. Okay, great. Why are you making this video? I'm making this video today because XYZ. And then when we go through, we just edit all these little pieces together. The beginning of each sentence is phrased in a way where it flows totally naturally. So we just want to engineer a fun conversation for the client. They just talk. And then that way too, like, when you're filming a YouTube video, just like that little red light came on, you're like, oh my gosh, the lights are on. I have to perform. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, don't mess up. I'm doing pretty well so far. Don't mess up. And then you make yourself mess up. If we can just turn it into a conversation, how many times in a conversation have you been talking to somebody and you go, oh, actually, hold on. I didn't say that how I wanted to say it. Time out. I want to go back to the beginning of that sentence. It never happens. So we want to make it feel like that. Just feel like you're talking to somebody, which is what we do. We do these interviews where you're talking on Riverside, which is a filming platform. And it just feels totally natural. So we can knock out YouTube videos in like one take a lot of times. So anyways, that's a tangent, but that's how we do it for our clients. That's number 3, the most important part, film those YouTube videos. The 4th step is to take that YouTube video and to chop it up into short form. So we've already created short form before, but now we have more. My philosophy is always, I want to squeeze every last drop of juice out of a piece of content to maximize our client's time. The most important thing that we have is our client's time, and it's also their knowledge and their expertise and their personality. And once we capture that on camera, it's our job, my job and my team's, to turn that into as many things as possible, to put it in front of more people in more ways. So we take that YouTube video, we chop it up into short form, and the benefit now is that in the description to the video, or even on the video itself, like with an animation, we can say, this is part 1 of 5, but actually we filmed a long form video that goes way further in depth. Click on the link in our bio to go check it out. So now we have all these short form videos where if we have a YouTube video that teaches 5 things, we now have 5 short form videos that point from one to the next, and then each one goes back to the YouTube video. The next step is we'll take that YouTube video and turn it into carousels. So if we teach 5 things in the YouTube video, or 6 or 7, that's really easy to turn into a carousel, where each slide is a very short summary of the YouTube video itself. And then the last slide tells you, once again, go back to YouTube to watch the first thing. Click the link in my bio. My goal is always to make a carousel that feels like a resource, like there's so much value packed into it that people want to save it and come back and read it over again. Reels often feel like something that's fleeting. You're just putting it in front of my feed, but a carousel is like a little encyclopedia. It's like a little ebook. It's something that I own. And if I save it, I have possession of it. And if I have possession of it, I actually kind of own the outcome already. That result that I'm aspiring to, that's in my possession, I have the keys to get there. That's how I want my carousels to feel. So valuable that people want to save it because it's that important to them. The next step is to do further repurposing. So carousels are one way to repurpose those YouTube videos, but I also want to take those, as well as just the regular short form content, and turn them into stories, tweets, quote images, animated quotes, long text posts along with an image. There's a lot of different ways that we can do that. Like I said before, I just want to squeeze all the juice possible out of that. And then once we have multiple styles of content for each original video, we can point them to each other. In that quote image, we can say, hey, go check out the carousel on July 6th. Or in the story, we can say, yesterday I had a video about XYZ. I actually have a report that goes into 9 ways to repurpose content. If you would like that, you can leave a comment below, or maybe I'll try to link it somewhere around here so you can go further in depth on that subject. The next step is, now that we've built out this content web, getting people into our web. And often we do that with ads. So obviously this is a huge topic, a million ways to do ads, but some of my favorite are Trojan horse ads. So a Trojan horse ad is where I'll find a clip from like Tony Robbins or Alex Hormozi or Dave Ramsey, and I'll watch that video for like 10 seconds. And on screen, you'll see my face and then Tony Robbins' face. And he's talking, I'm watching him. As soon as he's done, I look into the camera and I add on to it. I give my 2 cents, I add some form of value to it. So if I run an ad just with me, nobody knows who I am. So like, why is this guy in my feed? But if you watch Tony Robbins, especially if I target people who are fans of Tony Robbins, now all of a sudden it makes sense. And Tony is kind of like my Trojan horse who's introducing me to his audience. You can do that just as regular content. And then if you want, run that as an ad to get new people to get sucked into your web. Another way, you've seen this before, is to do call out videos to say, hey, are you X person and you have Y problem and you want Z result? I have something to tell you. That's a simple way to get people's attention. Another way that I love, and this seems like super low tech, but it works, is to do memes. I'm sure you're like me, you're probably sharing memes with your friends. Why not take a good meme and run that as an ad? There's a lower barrier to entry. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is an ad, I'm being pitched right now. But you can grab people's attention and then suck them into your web. So that's it. That's the content web. Really, in a nutshell, the idea is get into flow as quickly as possible. Just get those ideas flowing. The best ideas become YouTube videos, and then the YouTube video gets repurposed into more kinds of content. Now we have a ton of content that all fits together, and it was super easy for you to make. The most important thing to keep in mind is message over medium. So most people get so sucked into the details. What do the captions look like? What colors should I use? And what styles of content? All that's secondary. The most important thing is the message itself. Say something that's worth being listened to. Once you figure out what that is by people giving you feedback or tracking the analytics, then you turn that into as many other pieces of content as you can. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.